Okay, April 14th. April 14th, y'all, Wednesday. It is full remote day, so hang in there. Quick classes, but they're all back to back to back all throughout the morning. So here we go. The starter, everybody go to the starter. This is going to take some time today. It's going to assess how you did on both the political cartoon for Japan as well as the nuke map scenarios. Okay, so what I want you to do is answer these questions to the best of your ability. There are 10 questions. Okay, honestly, if you did the assignment, because we did this together, you should have no problem identifying the first 5 questions. What's the time? What are the actions that we see? Which answer choice best represents the captions, the objects, and then the summary of the political cartoon. Okay, and then move on to question 6 is about scenario 1 of the nuke map. Question 7 is about scenario 2 of the nuke map, and question 8 is about scenario 3 of the nuke map. So go ahead and work on that now. I'm gonna give you a solid amount of time here, but let me know when you're done in the chat. So I know when we can move forward, or just to give me a good idea of how long this is going to take. Go ahead and work on that now, please. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on here to the April 14th summary. Today, our focus is to analyze the effects of conflict on the Korean Peninsula. So we've kind of finished up Japan. And again, we're just doing a quick overview of some significant events throughout the continent of Asia. So that's what we're doing. We started with India. We looked at the DBQ. We looked at Gandhi and his nonviolent movement and studied like why was that successful? Then we moved to Japan and we looked at just the overall impact of the use of nuclear weapons and the use of nuclear weapons by the United States specifically on Hiroshima, Japan. And then we're transitioning to Korea. And I'm going to say the Koreas or the Korean Peninsula because we're going to look at why it's divided into North and South Korea, and that's our main focus, and look at the conflict there in the 50s that is a part of the Cold War. Okay, and we're going to get into all of that, okay, here in just a minute. But let's take a look. So we're going to analyze the effects of conflict on the Korean Peninsula, and which is very similar to the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. Analyze the effects of social, economic, military, and political conflict among nations, regions, and groups. Okay, so we're going to look and try and break that down, analyze it, what was good about it, what was bad about it, what was the impact of it, okay, the effects of it. Unit is Asia, governance throughout time and place, impacts expression is our statement. So here we go. So we did the starter. We're going to begin the Korea video. You probably could even finish that today during synchronous work, and then we're going to do the ticket out the door. Then the asynchronous work is to complete 125 Korea video. Okay, so right now, if I could get everybody, go to 125 in both your digital notebook as well as in Canvas, please. Go ahead and do that now. I'll just give you 1 minute to do that. Should not take long. Thank you. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to actually play this video. We're going to do this together, okay? I want you to, if you look at 125 in your notebook, it's divided into 2 different sections here. So you're going to take notes, and that will help you answer the questions that go along with this, okay? I'm going to play the video. You can, if you don't feel comfortable, I'm going too fast, too slow, whatever, you can kind of do this at your own pace, but you can also re-watch it. If after we watch it this one time together and then you get to a question on Canvas and you can't answer that question, you feel like you don't understand it, then you can go back and watch it. You don't need to feel rushed to answer it right now, okay, as a class. But we're going to watch this video. I'm going to go to student view here. We're going to watch this video. I want you to take notes on page 125 as we watch this video. I'm going to stop it at about the 2-minute mark because that's how I have it divided in the notes in your digital notebook. Okay, here we go.
The Korean War, June 25, 1950 through July 27, 1953. At the end of World War II in 1945, Korea was freed from Japanese control. North Korea was occupied by the Soviets while the South was occupied by American forces. By 1948, the country was divided in half at the 38th parallel, with the capitalist South ruled by Syngman Rhee and the communist North ruled by Kim Il-sung. The Soviet troops withdrew from Korea in 1948, and U.S. troops withdrew in 1949. However, North and South Korea, as enemies of one another, would not accept the border between them as permanent. The North Koreans attacked South Korea on June 25, 1950, advancing across the 38th parallel. Around 75,000 troops of the North Korean People's Army defeated the Republic of Korea's army with success, capturing the capital city of Seoul, then occupying the whole of South Korea except for Busan. This was a problem, as President Truman in the United States wanted to contain the spread of communism by preventing the domino effect. That is, if Korea fell, so would other countries to the ideology. South Korea appealed for support, and the United States pushed a resolution through the United Nations Security Council. The USSR did not use its veto power, as it was boycotting the council because the new communist China was not accepted. In China's seat was the pro-US Chinese nationalist government of Taiwan. An appeal was made by the Security Council for North Korea to withdraw its troops, but was ignored. As a result, approval was granted for a UN army made up of an international force of 16 nations to send help to South Korea, commanded by General Douglas MacArthur. The UN troops, composed mainly of Americans, landed in South Korea in early July, but were soon pushed back on the defense by the North Korean forces, forming a perimeter around Busan to defend the line until reinforcements arrived in August. Now that their position was strengthened, MacArthur went on the offensive. On September 15th, the U.S. Marines X-Corps launched an amphibious assault at Incheon. The North Korean troops were pushed back on the retreat over the 38th parallel, and soon Seoul was recaptured along with the whole of South Korea by the end of the month. Now, MacArthur was to go.
I'll stop there just for a minute, just to recap, okay? And here's where you should fill out the beginning of those notes on page 124, 125, whatever page that is, for the Korea video, okay? But bottom line is, at this point, after World War II, okay, Korea was controlled by Japan. Japan took over Korea, okay? After World War II, Japan lost, and if you lose, you have to give up the territory that you've gained. Okay, so that's what happened. Japan gave up Korea back to the Korean people. Okay, so Korea was then split in half, basically, between North and South Korea. And then bottom line is the northern part is a communist part. The bottom part is a more capitalist, democratic portion of Korea. And then they start just fighting back and forth, and they have allies, supporters on the outside that support them based on who supports a more communist or a more capitalist society. Okay, and we're going to get into this. This is just an introduction. Okay, but we're going to continue here and watch the remaining part of the video, and then you need to answer those questions in Canvas and re-watch it if necessary.
Go beyond the initial idea of containment. Truman, worried of a Chinese response, nevertheless approved, and UN troops moved into North Korea on October 7, 1950. On October 12th, they captured Pyongyang, the North Korean capital, and then the Yalu River, which was the border with communist China. China retaliated by helping the North Koreans, sending 250,000 Chinese troops. The UN troops, overwhelmed by this new force, were pushed out of North Korea with heavy losses. By January 1951, Chinese and North Korean troops had captured Seoul. General MacArthur wanted to use the atom bomb on China and was dismissed for insubordination by President Truman, who went back to a policy of containment. In June 1951, more UN troops were sent to Korea, eventually driving the North Korean army to the 38th parallel and stabilizing the front. Now, a stalemate set in. In July, peace talks began, but a compromise could not be found. Meanwhile, Fighting continued, and American pilots fought in the air against Soviet pilots using Chinese jet fighters and wearing Chinese uniforms. General Dwight D. Eisenhower took over as president in early 1953 and sought an end to the war. After 2 years of negotiation, an armistice was signed on July 27, 1953, at Panmunjom on the 38th parallel. A demilitarized zone was set up, which stands to this day. Subscribe and click the notification bell for more history videos.
All right, so
Thank you guys for
so with that being said, that is quick overview. Go ahead and take the quiz. Okay, use your notes. If you need to, you can re-watch any portion of that video. Like, that is fine. You are not rushed to do that, like to finish that now and you get one chance. What you need to do is, if you need to, re-watch the video just to make sure you fully understand and comprehend what's taking place here, okay? And again, this is an overview, but the bottom line is, after World War II, Korea became independent from Japan. Japan took over a lot of territory before World War II. Japan lost, they had to give up Korea. Korea was then taken over by two groups. You have the North Korean group, which is a communist group, and the South Korean group, which is a more capitalist democratic group, okay? They then have support. North Korea has support from Soviet Union, which is Russia, and China. And South Korea has support from like the United Nations, the US, and some other countries. And they just fight, go back and forth. Push the border up, push the border back down, push the border back up, push the border back down, until eventually in 1953, they say, forget it, let's stop fighting, let's have an armistice, which is just a stop in fighting, and let's just draw a border at the 38th parallel, and no military in that area. North Korea gets the northern part, South Korea gets the southern part, and that's literally where we are today. Okay, but go ahead and take that quiz now. Actually, let's do this. Let's go to the ticket out the door, and then your asynchronous work is to just make sure that that quiz is done and done well. Okay, and I'll do this one other thing. One other thing I want to do, I posted all this stuff for tomorrow and Friday because we're having a formal mini project tomorrow and Friday, which is creating a political cartoon of representing this conflict in Korea. So I just want to give you an overview just in case you want to get ahead. All right, so if we look at tomorrow's work and Friday, most of it is posted. Okay, so we'll do that ticket out the door in a minute for April 14th. But April 15th, there's no starter tomorrow because I'll know if you did your work by how you did on the quiz for the Korea video 125. Okay, but there's a slideshow here, okay, on 126. And bottom line is you need to go through this slideshow and take notes and put them on the organizer that I distributed to you on page 126 in your digital notebook. If you look there, each slide should have a minimum of 4 bullet points, a minimum. If you need more, you can include more. Okay, and I did the first 2 slides together. The first one is the background slide, and then we have event 1, event 2, event 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Each of those slides, okay, you need to have a minimum of 4 bullet points put into your digital notebook for the specific slide. Then what I've asked you to do, what I've done is I've assigned you an event. Event 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Okay, actually I didn't do 1 because I was going to do 1 as an example. So events 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Okay, and you've been assigned that event. Your job is to develop and create a political cartoon and put it on page 127 in your digital notebook that represents the details of that event. And that event, okay, you must have a time represented, actions, captions, objects, and then write a summary because I put the tacos organizer below that. And that is going to be due Sunday at 10 p.m. So I just want to at least give you a heads up just in case you feel like you need to get started on that now.